Hello, my friends, and welcome to another edition of Crush and Climb. I'm your host, Jason McClain, and today I've got something really fun to talk to you about because I spent so many years on stage walking back and forth and having conversations with people and then going deeply into a studio and taking that content and bringing it to the masses. So today I want to take you back in time a little bit because I can tell you one of the things that's really, really fun and really, really interesting as we grow and become better versions of ourselves is making a clear understanding that we know how to overcome the difficult moments in our lives. How do we overcome the hard times, the challenges that never seem to go away? Well, to do that, I am going to introduce you to a wonderful wine today before we go into the studio and go into this particular program. And today's wine is called Overcomer. That's right. It's a beautiful, amazing blend of some of the coolest, most amazing grapes. It's a Cab Franc base, but this thing will make your liver quiver and your shimmy, shimmy cocoa pop. So Overcomer is a wine that I love terribly. If you look at the front label and the bottle itself, you'll notice there's a pack of cyclists, a peloton, if you will. And years ago, we'll go back in time now, I used to be the captain of the cycling team when I was at university and ran NCAA and literally loved cycling. And there's nothing more powerful than when you get a pack of cyclists together and they're riding in this draft and they are working together to get to a common place. But when you go through difficult moments in time, when you're running a business, you're starting a family, you're trying to figure out your world and where you're going to go, sometimes the hardest times look us right in the eye and we don't know which way to go. So I put together a very clear step-by-step plan, a program, and two different parts. So we're going to go into studio for a moment and we're going to listen to two parts, one on overcoming hard times and another one which is overcoming your fears. And as an entrepreneur, I can tell you honestly, it happens each and every single day. When I think about the wine that I've got and a glass of Overcomer, I made that wine because people need a chance to sit back for a moment, raise up a glass, and realize that we're not the sum of our yesterdays, but we are the opportunity in front of our tomorrows. We can make every moment last for a lifetime. And I can promise you, no matter what, the world will get better as we engage it. So my friends, let's take a moment and let's go into the studio and let's go find the path to overcoming those hard times and putting those fears back into a box. My friends, here's to you and the Overcomer inside of you. Cheers. Hi, I'm Jason McClain and welcome to Life Can Change. On this episode, we're going to talk about how to get through a hard time. The first thing you want to keep in your mind is pretty simple and pretty easy. You don't need to understand the problem you're dealing with to solve it. Solving a problem is just like taking down a tree. You take an axe and you hit it one step at a time. Hit it once, hit it twice, hit it again, so that tree begins to fall down. You've got to take this step by step. We don't care how the problem came about. We don't care what caused the problem. We don't care how the circumstances around your life ignited to create the challenge you're going through. You don't need to care about that. You need to care about one thing, that you can solve it. Have the confidence, have the joy inside to realize you have exactly what it takes to solve the problems. Most of us spend all the time in the world trying to solve this challenge, right? So 100% of our time is trying to figure out what's wrong and how do you make it better. My advice to you today is this: you spend 20% on what's wrong and 80% is on what is right. Listen, the more you focus on the good parts of the challenge you're facing, the easier it'll be to get out of it. So don't sit down with a notepad and a pencil and an Excel spreadsheet and try to solve every one of the problems. Work on the things which are good and exploit them. Push them harder. Make them better in every single way. No matter what else is happening, at least remember this, you're doing one simple thing right. You know what that is? You're working on solving the challenge. Get as many eyeballs as you can on this problem and realize that this is a good thing. It's a good thing to solve problems, because I've heard it said 1,000 times. You probably heard it yourself. It says, every single thing happens for a reason. I believe that 100% deep down in my heart. And you should too, because when we trim away the fat, when you trim away the challenges, things get better. They always get better because you're lighter, you're simpler, you're easier. You can direct the path much quicker and much easier. One thing's going good, and that is you are working on the problem. Remember, this too will pass. Problems are not always there. And when you're going through a hard time, probably the hardest thing to remember is what it's like on the other side of this hill. What things look like when things begin to turn around, when they begin to seem like the world is better. Do you remember the good times you had last year or last week or last month? You were just riding high as a kite. Everything was great. So realize the problem you're going through right now, the struggle you're experiencing, it will not always be there. Problems are temporary. Life is forever. You know, one thing I found oftentimes is people don't seek out the bad news because they don't really want to hear about it. That means you're not seeking out the answers. So here's another quick tip and a good piece of advice that you want to hang on to right now. Ask the hard questions. Expect the difficult news, expect the challenges, because when you get those things, when you get those challenges, when you get the bad news, you're getting the answers to make the changes. You'll never make a good change unless you've got all the information. So remember, my friends, hold on right now to the idea that says you don't want to know what you don't want to know, because knowledge is truly power. One of the things I've said time and time again is that struggle is where greatness comes from. Listen, if you're struggling right this very moment, you probably are going through a challenge because you're watching Life Can Change. I can tell you right now, it is the greatest opportunity in the entire world to realize that your struggle is now, and this is where greatness comes from. Every major change in my life, every major adjustment I've ever done started from a ground floor of a struggle or a challenge or a difficulty. And everything that's good, it breaks out from a struggle. When you're born, there's a struggle. When you're trying to build a company, there's a struggle. When you're raising a family, you'll find a struggle. Everything in life beats us with some kind of adversity, some kind of a deep difficulty. That's cool. That's really, really exciting. Embrace it and realize that greatness is coming out of this. It's always been said, it's darkest before the dawn. Not something I invented, and you've heard it many times before. I agree with that 100%. So realize this one thing. Greatness comes from struggle. The only way to fix any problem is to share your burden. Listen, when I'm going through a challenge, when I've got a problem, I bring people into a room, sit them down and say, look at this, look at that, look at the other thing, or bring my family around me, and we talk about it. You get more eyes on the problem, you'll realize the important reality that says you're not alone. When you've got a team with you, when you've got family with you, when you've got friends with you, all struggles, all problems can be dealt with so much better. You can handle the situation if you get more eyes on the challenge. The pain you feel in your chest, you know, when you're going through that hard time, you kind of have that deepness of breath sometimes, a shortness of breath saying, oh my gosh, I can't get through this one. That shortness of your breath, that difficulty you're feeling, that pain in the circumstance, it is exactly the fuel that you need to succeed. That's where it comes from. That's the obstacle. And that's also the opportunity. The pain in your chest is your fuel for your personal success. That tightness that you feel when you're in some kind of a fear position, or you're not believing the things you really think you should. You're having a problem every single day, asking yourself the question, what do I do right now? And you have to take a deep breath. Well, I've been told many times, you can learn this through all kinds of meditation arts, but the most important thing to do when you're going through a hard time is take a deep breath and realize that you're about to embark on something amazing. This is chess, not checkers, my friends. You have to calculate the moves to get out of these hard times. You've got to calculate them step by step. It's not about just jumping one thing to another like you do in a game of checkers. This is chess. Like life, it takes strategy. So realize the only way to get through a hard time is to have a plan. So my advice to you is to have a plan. Sit down, analyze the situation, write down every single opportunity that's in front of you. The struggle you're feeling, the hard time you're going through, it will get better because you're going to work the problem. I promise you, things will turn around. Don't take it personal. Here's a good one to remember. Listen, every challenge you face, every problem you're going through, every difficulty you're trying to deal with, it's not about you all the time. It's about life. Life throws us curveballs every single day, and you're the batter up at the plate. So don't take it personal. Just deal with the situation, and sooner or later, you'll get through it. Listen, when you got a hard thing to do to get through this hard time, like call the bank and say, I'm sorry, I can't make my payment today, or tell your kids, I'm sorry, I can't afford your tuition for college this week. Whatever the challenge you're facing, whatever the problem is, rip off the Band-Aid. Don't take it personal, and realize that the sooner you address the challenges, you address the problems, the faster and the quicker you'll find a resolution. Don't wallow in it. When you're going through a hard time or you're going through hell, as the preacher once said, you want to get out of there as fast as you possibly can. So I'm going to tell you right now, rip off the Band-Aid, take the circumstances exactly how they are, take a deep breath, and plow into solutions. The only way to fix a hard time is to find a solution. You are a problem solver. That's your job today. If you want to get through this hard time you're going through right now, if you want to really change your life, remember, you are a problem solver. I remember watching the movie The Martian. If you haven't seen it, it's a really cool film. At the very end of the movie, the actor gets up there and he says, you know something? When I went out in outer space, I wasn't sure if I was going to live or I was going to die, what was going to happen. But I realized that if I solve one problem at a time, on that time, I get to make a decision that allows me a step closer to home. I thought it was well said in every single way. So I'm going to give it to you as well. You're a problem solver. You solve it one step at a time, one problem at a time. Don't take a bunch of them. Take them one piece at a time. When you're a problem solver, you get the opportunity to make something better. And this is the way you get through a hard time. Remember, you are way more than just your problems, way more in every single way. Listen, a lot of us identify with what we do for a living, with the car we drive, the house we live in, the number of kids we have, whatever our life looks like. We identify with something in life. But you're more than those things, and you're more than your problems. You are a human being, and you've got a joy inside of you that's dying to get out. So take a deep breath and realize the circumstances don't define your character. Your circumstances will never, ever, ever lead a path to making your life worse. All they're going to do is give you a chance to deal with a challenge. How you face this is important. It's way more important than how you solve the challenge you're in. If what you're doing isn't working, stop, drop, and roll. Do something different. Listen, you can't solve a problem with one solution. You need to give a bunch of ideas, a bunch of solutions at this problem until it gets fixed. If you had a crystal ball, you would have predicted that you're not going to have a problem, or that if you're going to have a problem, you'll predict the way you're going to get out of it. But no one does. I don't have a crystal ball. You don't have a crystal ball, my friend, but I can tell you this truth. Try, and try again. And here, remember this one. Streamline, simplify, and intensify. Streamline every single thing around you. Get rid of the fat. Make the tasks easy and simple. And then eat that apple one bite at a time. A lot of times when you're going through a difficult situation, it's hard to be positive. It's hard to smile. It's hard to put a skip in your step and feel like the world is perfect. Well, here's a shortcut on how to get yourself to that positive place so you can make positive decisions. Ask yourself, what are you grateful for right this very moment? No matter what the difficulty is, what the challenge is, there's always something to be grateful for. For me, It's my wife and my kids. It's my family. It's my business. It's my friends. It's a good time I had yesterday or I'm going to have tomorrow. You've got to find these positive things you're grateful for in order to spearhead a path to change for your life. So remember, your life can change every single day and you can make a difference in your own life. The struggle you're dealing with, the challenge you're facing right now today, it will be over one day soon. Realize nothing lasts forever, but your attitude, your mind, your ideas, your thoughts, your passions, who you are, this is what we're working on. This is what's evolving. This is what's going to change. You are going to be changed in the struggle. So the secret is this. It's pretty simple and pretty easy. The one way you get through hard times is stay positive, stay motivated, get as many eyes on the problem as you possibly can, and realize it's only temporary and you can find a path forward. So today, write down the situation, write down the solution, write down the people who are going to help you with this, all on one piece of paper or on your notepad. And put that in front of you and begin taking action steps. How do we solve the problem? One step at a time. I'm Jason McClain with Life Can Change, and I'll see you next time. Hey friend, I hope you've picked up something from that episode, and it was a lot of fun putting it together. I really enjoyed it. But all those principles that come into all the things that we do when we raise our glass and look at each other and find out what we're going to accomplish, it all comes down to the joys that are right here in this book, Pivot to Profit. And I can tell you, the fears, the difficulties, the challenges I went through back in those days, I outline them in detail in the book. And so I hope you find something that you can take from it, that you can hold on to, because there's always a path forward, no matter how difficult the road may seem. Let's do this one more time, going back to the exact same subject, the same idea, and we're gonna go into part 2 and have another amazing time in studio. We'll be back very soon, my friends. And until then, raise your glass, but let's jump over there and become overcomers. Cheers. Hi, I'm Jason McClain, and welcome to Life Can Change. On this episode, we're going to talk about how to overcome your fears. Now listen, we've all got fears, and if we want to make a real significant change in our lives, we've got to realize that there are fears we all deal with each and every single day. The first one is, of course, fear of failure. We've always had that all day long. It's kind of rooted inside of us. And that fear of failure literally can turn our lives upside down and make everything more difficult. There's fear of overextending yourself financially because you've got your wife or your kids, or you've got your business or your life or your friends. Something's going to come and hurt you financially. So we live with that fear. And overcoming that's very difficult for us to do. There's also the fear that you might be judged, that someone will look upon you in a way that you really don't deserve or that you're uncomfortable with. There's a fear of trading security for the unknown. And of course, there's a fear that success will alienate your friends. So all these fears are natural. We've all got them every single day. So the one question you've got to ask yourself is this: how do I overcome these fears, and how do I understand them, and how do I change my position on what I believe fear really is? So with all these fears, we've broken it down to 5 basic fears. You got to understand them, and when you understand what a fear really and truly is, you can overcome that fear and you can change your position on what you think is really making you afraid so you can change your life. The first fear is that of extinction. You know that feeling you kind of feel when you look over a tall building or you're on the very top of a top floor looking out over the edge? And you kind of feel this, whoa, my goodness, if I go too much further over, I may fall over. That fear of extinction that makes you feel uneasy or uncomfortable, it's a natural human fear. So extinction is that anxiety that kind of runs in everybody, that maybe my sense of being here on this planet right here, I won't be here again. It's a natural fear we all have. The second fear is that of mutilation. It's that creepy feeling you kind of get when someone squishes a bug in front of you. It makes you kind of go, oh my gosh, the bug got squished. Or losing an arm or a limb or something of that nature. Losing a body part, that's a fear of mutilation. No one wants that one, so it's a natural fear to have that as well. Another fear, it's very natural for us to have a loss of our ability to move. It's called the loss of autonomy. And that basically is the fact that you might become paralyzed. You might get hit by a car and be spending the rest of your life perhaps in a wheelchair or in some other form that makes you completely uncomfortable. The perfect definition for a loss of autonomy is the fear of being immobilized, paralyzed, restricted, enveloped, overwhelmed, entrapped, imprisoned, or smothered, or otherwise controlled by circumstances beyond our control. In a physical form, it could be something like claustrophobia, but that's a natural fear that we all have at our 5 basic fears. Number 4, the fear of separation. In simple terms, the fear of abandonment, rejection, and loss of connectedness, or becoming a non-person, not wanted, not respected, or valued by anybody else. Getting that silent treatment imposed by a group. It's a devastating effect on everybody. So listen, nobody wants that fear of being set aside, that fear of separation. Honestly, it makes us just uncomfortable. That is a natural fear. And number 5 is the fear of your ego death. It's humiliation. It's shame. It's basically feeling as if you are the butt of the problem. You're the one who's now in trouble. In a simple definition, we write up and say, the fear of humiliation, shame, or an other mechanism so profound disapproval that threatens the loss of integrity of the self. The fear of shattering or disintegrating one's constructed sense of being loved, capability, or worthiness. This basically says you are no longer a sense of self. You're no longer important. You're now worthless. So with those 5 fears, you're naturally able to experience those items. But if you want to change your life, realize that those 5 fears are something everyone has. But the real fears that keep us from going where we want to go are the fears that we impose on ourselves, the fears that we create, the belief structures that we engage. Do you realize that most fears, most beliefs that we put together and create ourselves are manufactured out of our own mind? The assumption of what might happen in the future, the path of events that we create and foresee that have a possible outcome that paralyzes us in such a difficult way. In a pure definition, I say fear is not a bad thing. It's simply an anxious feeling caused by our anticipation of some imagined event or experience. You create the fear inside of you. So if you want to change your life for the better right now, realize that everything you believe, everything you're afraid of, everything you think might happen, might not. Therefore, life can be different. Circumstances can change. The fears you have are self-imposed. If it might happen, maybe it might not. This is a big ticket to changing your very existence of your very life here, right now, today. You see, fear is simply put, information. It's information for you and I to work with. I like to say it offers us knowledge and understanding if we choose to accept it. Knowing the future, none of us really have that ability, but knowing the future might be cool. But since we don't know it, we have fears that we create as a negative roadblock that will push us into a different direction. So when I say to you, your life can be different, when I say to you, life can change, I'm telling you one simple thing. You need to overcome your fears because there's something you created based on an experience or some other significant emotional event you had in your life. A very dear friend of mine, Bill Mitchell, who used to play for the New York Giants, he said to me when he was playing on the team, he says, you have to have short-term memory in order to make that next play. I love that statement all day long because it's so true. When you're in life, you've got to have short-term memory. Just because you failed last week doesn't mean you're going to fail today or tomorrow or the next day. The fears that keep us down are the one thing that truly hurt us from moving forward. So listen, to change your life, shake off the fear. Let's get short-term memory, my friend. Let's expire the idea that says it might go bad. So what if it does? Pick yourself up and keep going. This is the key to success. Getting going again after you fall down. You got to get yourself back up because until you do, you'll never, ever, ever achieve greatness in your life. So every failure creates a significant emotional event. And as we have these, fears are the little byproducts that keep us from going forward again. So to change your life, take the fear out. Take out the assumption you've got in your mind that it might go south. It might end up bad because you're manufacturing that. And you have the right to fear and the right not to be afraid. Make a choice. All of us have a choice every single day. Your fear is just an illusion showing you an assumed future based on an uncomfortable past. That's the truth. Remember this because this will really set your sight in motion. What are you afraid of right now? What are you afraid of on this very day, this very moment? Are you afraid that you won't have the money you need to get through tomorrow? Are you afraid that your spouse is not going to love you the way you love them? Are you afraid there's a divorce coming? Are you afraid that your kids won't accomplish the dreams that they've set out for themselves? What are you afraid of? Realize you're just simply imposing your beliefs, your factors of your thoughts onto a future that has not yet happened based on what happened in the past or what you saw happened before. And honestly, you don't have that right. So give up the right to be afraid. Give it up right here today because that's the answer to changing your life. Giving up your right to be steadfast in your fears. So make a choice and realize one thing. You don't know the answer. You don't know why it's going to happen the way you think it's going to happen or not happen. Make a choice to realize you don't know the future and be okay with that. Be okay with what the future holds because only then, only when you're truly, truly okay with what the future holds, whatever it might be, can you move forward to changing your life for the better. I'm Jason McClain, and your life can change if you make the right steps to realizing that your fears are self-imposed. Your fears are there because of your past, but they don't necessarily have to control your future. Your life can be different. I promise you.
Thank you for joining entrepreneur, author, speaker, and winery owner, Jason McClain, on the Crush and Climb podcast. Here, we hammer raw experience into wisdom, helping you not just bounce back, but bounce forward with new strength. To continue the journey and build a life that's not just successful, but significant, subscribe to Crush and Climb wherever you get your podcasts. Let's raise a glass to the journey.